Hello, welcome to this video on Bluetooth security. In this video, we'll explore how elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman, ECDH, is used to safeguard communications between Bluetooth devices. A feature of Bluetooth security is the manner in which the exchanged elliptic curve points X and Y are authenticated to prevent malicious intruder-in-the-middle attacks. Since signing these points is impractical due to challenges in verifying signature public keys, Bluetooth uses a custom-designed process which is both secure and user-friendly.
This lecture will use the following cryptographic elements: the AES block cipher, the SHA-256 hash function, HMAC, CBC-MAC, the P256 elliptic curve, the elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman, or ECDH, key agreement protocol. You can learn more about these in our Crypto 101 Building Blocks course.
Bluetooth is an industry standard for short-range, low-power, wireless communications. It's primarily used to establish personal area networks, enabling secure connections between paired devices, which are typically owned by the same person. The first version of Bluetooth was introduced in 1999. The most recent version, Bluetooth 6.0, was released in August of 2024. In 2024, over 5 billion Bluetooth-enabled devices were shipped worldwide. Here are the Bluetooth devices that were on my desk as I prepared these slides. We'll discuss Bluetooth Classic in this video. The cryptographic differences with Bluetooth Low Energy are minor. The Bluetooth specification is extensive, spanning over 3,000 pages. Most of the document is devoted to the Bluetooth technology, which is spread-spectrum wireless technology. When two devices connect, they first exchange a random number, which is then used to generate a pseudorandom sequence that determines the frequencies for their transmissions. These frequencies change over 1,000 times each second. The security section of the Bluetooth specification is over 70 pages long. But security is very closely intertwined with the rest of the specification. Due to the complexity and length of the document, conducting a thorough security analysis of Bluetooth remains a challenging task. The Bluetooth standard defines 5 fundamental security services. The first is confidentiality, which is preventing an eavesdropper from learning the underlying data. This can be provided by the use of encryption. There's message integrity or data integrity, which can be achieved by using a secure MAC scheme. There's authentication, which is verifying the identity of the two communicating devices. Bluetooth devices are identified by their 48-bit Bluetooth addresses. There's authorization, which I won't talk about here. And finally, the core security service is pairing, which is a creation of one or more shared secret keys and storing them for future connections in order to form a trusted device pair. To establish a long-term secure Bluetooth connection, two devices must undergo a pairing process. This process generates a long-term link key, which is stored for future use. The link key is used to derive fresh encryption keys for each session. Bluetooth offers 3 pairing methods. The first is legacy, the second is secure simple pairing, and the third is secure connections. In this video, I'll explain how secure connections works. The secure connection security mechanism includes 4 association models, each designed to accommodate the input-output capabilities of Bluetooth devices. The first is numeric comparison. This model requires both devices to have displays capable of showing 6-digit numbers, and each device to either have an OK reject confirmation button or a keyboard. An example use case is pairing a smartphone with a laptop, as both devices have displays and input capabilities for confirmation. The second association model is passkey entry. This model is used when one device has input capability but no display, while the other device has a display. It's also used when one device has only a display and the other has both a keyboard and a display. A common scenario is connecting a wireless keyboard to a desktop computer. The third association model is just works. This is designed for situations where at least one device lacks both a display and a keyboard. This is commonly used when connecting wireless headphones to a smartphone, since headphones typically lack input-output capabilities. And fourthly, there's out-of-band, which are vendor-specific methods that allow pairing through alternative communication channels. In this lecture, I'll only discuss numeric comparison, so I'll assume that the two communicating devices have displays and an OK reject button. While the Bluetooth pairing occurs between two devices, called Alice and Bob here, the two devices are under the control of the device owner, who is a human being. As we'll see, the owner plays an active role in the pairing process. I've collected on this slide all the notation that I'll use in the protocol. Bluetooth uses elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman, which operates on the P256 elliptic curve. Alice is the initiating device, and Bob is the responder device. A and B are Alice's and Bob's 48-bit Bluetooth addresses. You can refer to the slide when you need to review the notation. Here is a high-level overview of the Bluetooth security protocol. In Phase 1, the two devices perform an elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman key agreement to establish a shared secret. However, this secret is unauthenticated, making it vulnerable to a potential malicious intruder in the middle attack. Phase 2 detects whether a malicious intruder in the middle attack had occurred during Phase 1. In Phase 3, each device confirms that the other device has successfully completed the exchange and verifies the other device's Bluetooth address. The long-term link key is generated in Phase 4. This completes the pairing process. In Phase 5, the two devices confirm that they are paired, meaning that they hold the same link key. They then derive an encryption key, which is used to encrypt and authenticate data for that session. One device, which I'm calling Alice, is the initiator, and the other device, which I'm calling Bob, is the responder. Before Phase 1 begins, the two devices exchange their 48-bit Bluetooth addresses, denoted A and B. Alice and Bob begin by performing ECDH using the P256 elliptic curve. Recall that in ECDH, Alice selects a random number x between 1 and n-1 and computes the point capital X equals little x times p. She sends the point capital X to Bob. Similarly, Bob picks a random number little y, computes capital Y equals y times p, and sends the point y to Alice. Bob computes the point y times x and sets the x-coordinate of this point to be the shared secret k. Similarly, Alice computes k by taking the x-coordinate of the point x times y. Note that the x-coordinates of points are integers modulo the 256-bit prime number used to define the P256 elliptic curve. So k is a 256-bit number, which can be viewed as a 256-bit binary string. This is unauthenticated ECDH, since the exchange points x and y are not authenticated. Thus, Phase 1 is vulnerable to a malicious intruder in the middle attack, in which an adversary replaces the points x and y with points x primed and y primed of her choosing. The keys that Alice and Bob compute are not the same, but the adversary can compute both keys.
A malicious intruder in the middle attack can be prevented by authenticating the points X and Y. This can be done using signed Diffie-Hellman. Alice would sign her point X using, let's say, her RSA private signing key, and Bob would verify the signature using Alice's RSA public verification key. The important question then is, how does Bob obtain an authentic copy of Alice's public key? As we saw in Lecture 2, a common way to accomplish this is by using certificates. However, in practice, a Bluetooth device could be paired with many devices, which are manufactured by vendors from around the world. It's very difficult to imagine how one entity, or perhaps a small number of entities, could serve as CAs to certify public keys of Bluetooth devices manufactured by vendors around the world. And so, Bluetooth does not use public key certificates to certify public keys. Instead, they use an ad hoc solution which we'll describe next.
The idea for detecting whether an active adversary interfered with the exchange of elliptic curve points X and Y in phase 1 is the following. Alice and Bob each generate a 128-bit nonce and exchange them. They then compute verification values by hashing X, Y, and the nonces and display the results. If an active adversary tampered with the communications in phases 1 and 2, the verification values will likely be different. The human being conducting the pairing visually compares the values and accepts the pairing only if they match. To enhance usability, the verification values are presented as 6-digit decimal numbers. It's important for security that the nonces be generated independently. In other words, each party selects their nonce before seeing the other party's nonce. This independence can be enforced by using a commitment scheme. Phase 2 of the Bluetooth security protocol proceeds as follows. Bob randomly selects a 128-bit nonce NB. He computes a commitment CB of the nonce. This is the HMAC tag with input the exchange points X and Y and the nonce NB as secret key. Bob sends the commitment CB to Alice. Next, Alice selects her nonce NA and sends it to Bob. Bob responds by sending his nonce to Alice. Alice computes the HMAC tag of the points Y and X and compares the result with the commitment she received from Bob. If they do not match, then she terminates the protocol. Because HMAC is a secure MAC scheme, an adversary who sees the commitment CB learns nothing at all about the nonce NB. And so, at the moment Alice selects her nonce NA, she has no knowledge of Bob's nonce NB. In step 3, Bob must send the exact nonce NB to Alice that he initially selected in step 1. If he were to generate a different nonce, say NB primed, he would need to ensure that the HMAC tag computed with NB primed still matches CB. This is presumably infeasible to do. So the use of commitments in steps 1 through 4 ensures that both Alice and Bob choose their nonces independently without knowing the other party's selection. This guarantees that NA and NB are selected independently of each other. In step 5, Alice computes her verification value VA by hashing the exchange points and nonces, extracting the rightmost 32 bits of the resulting hash value, and reducing that value modulo 1 million. This results in a 6-digit decimal number, which is displayed on Alice's device. Similarly, Bob computes his verification value VB and displays it on his device. The owner of both devices then visually compares the display values. If they're equal, the owner confirms the pairing by pressing the OK button on both devices. Otherwise, the owner rejects the pairing by pressing the Reject button on both devices. Here are the two verification values that were displayed to me when I paired my cell phone with my Mac laptop. Let's check that phase 2 effectively protects against malicious intruder in the middle attacks. An adversary Eve can still intercept and replace Alice's point X with the point X primed, which she then forwards to Bob. Similarly, she can replace Bob's point Y with the point Y primed, which she forwards to Alice. But now Eve needs to find a nonce NB primed to replace Bob's nonce, and a nonce NA primed to replace Alice's nonce. These nonces must be chosen so that the resulting verification values are equal to each other. But recall that because of the use of commitments, Eve is forced to select NB primed before knowing Alice's nonce NA, and also must select NA primed before knowing Bob's nonce NB. Since the verification values VA and VB are derived from these independently chosen nonces, they effectively behave as random 6-digit numbers between 0 and 1,000,000 minus 1. The probability that VA equals VB by chance is only 1 in a million. Therefore, if Eve alters any of X, Y, NA, or NB, then with probability very close to 1, the verification values will be different, and so the owner will reject the pairing, causing the attack to fail.
You can find a more complete security argument on the webpage for this course, cryptography101.ca/crypto101-deployments.
In phase 3, the two devices confirm that the other device has successfully completed the exchange and holds the same secret key. They also confirm each other's Bluetooth addresses. Alice begins by computing the exchange confirmation value EA. This is the left half of the HMAC tag computed over the nonces and the Bluetooth addresses, using K as a secret key. Alice sends EA to Bob. Bob independently computes the same HMAC tag using K as key and compares the left half with the received EA. If they match, then Bob proceeds with the pairing, otherwise he rejects it. Next, Bob computes his own exchange confirmation value EB, which is the left half of the HMAC tag, but this time using the nonces and Bluetooth addresses in reverse order. Bob sends EB to Alice. Alice in turn computes the corresponding HMAC tag and checks whether the left half matches EB. If not, she rejects the pairing. Only parties that know the secret key K can compute the correct HMAC tags. Thus, when Bob verifies EA in step 2, he is assured that the other party has derived the same key K and believes that they are communicating with Bob's claimed Bluetooth address. Similarly, when Alice verifies EB, she gains the same assurance. In phase 4, both devices compute the link key from the left half of this HMAC tag. This link key serves as a long-term authentication key for the lifetime of the pairing. The inclusion of nonces in the protocol ensures that the link key is unique, even if both devices reuse the same ECDH values X and Y across many pairings. Some Bluetooth implementations maintain fixed X and Y for the device's lifetime. Once paired, the devices can establish multiple communication sessions while the pairing remains valid. For each communication session, the devices verify that they share the same link key, confirming that they are still paired, before deriving a shared secret input for encryption key generation. Alice begins by generating a random nonce RA and sending it to Bob. Bob responds with his own random nonce RB. Both Alice and Bob compute a device authentication key H, derived as the left half of the HMAC tag using the link key as a secret key, with their Bluetooth addresses A and B as input. Next, Alice and Bob compute device authentication confirmation value T, which is the HMAC tag of the exchanged nonces RA and RB, using H as a secret key. From T, they extract SA, the leftmost 32 bits, SB, the next 32 bits, and ACO, the following 64 bits. Alice sends SA to Bob as her signed response, and Bob sends SB to Alice as his signed response. Each device compares the received signed response with its own computed value. Since SA and SB depend on H, and H is derived from the secret link key, verifying these responses assures both parties that they share the same link key and are communicating with the correct paired device. Moreover, since only the two paired devices possess the link key and can compute H, they are the only ones capable of deriving ACO. Alice and Bob are now prepared to generate an encryption key from their shared ACO. This key will be used to encrypt and authenticate all data exchange for the duration of the session. The encryption key, denoted KE, can range in size from a single byte to 16 bytes, so from 8 bits to 128 bits. Small encryption keys are allowed due to certain governments' regulations that restrict the use of strong encryption. During a negotiation process between the two devices, Alice and Bob agree on the length of the encryption key. For a 128-bit key, KE is defined as the first 128 bits of the HMAC tag, with the link key serving as a secret key and the Bluetooth identifiers and the ACO acting as inputs. For smaller L-bit encryption keys, Alice and Bob can set the rightmost bits of KE to be 0. In Bluetooth 4.0 and earlier versions, the encryption was performed using the E0 stream cipher. In later versions, encryption and authentication were performed using AES-CCM. This is a MAC then encrypt authenticated encryption scheme that uses CBC MAC to generate an authentication tag of the plaintext, and then uses AES in counter mode to encrypt the plaintext and the tag. I mentioned that the Bluetooth specification is over 3,000 pages. This makes performing a comprehensive security analysis quite challenging. And so it's not surprising that various vulnerabilities have been discovered over time. One such vulnerability is a knob attack, which was discovered in August 2019. As a reminder, the length of the encryption key KE is determined through a negotiation protocol. However, this negotiation is neither authenticated nor encrypted, and so an active adversary can manipulate the process to force the devices to agree on an 8-bit encryption key. This small key can then be easily brute forced in real time, and thus confidentiality is lost. The knob attack was implemented as a proof of concept, successfully decrypting a file exchanged between two phones over Bluetooth. It was found that most Bluetooth chips, including those from Intel, Broadcom, and Apple, as well as many Bluetooth devices, were vulnerable to this attack. More details about the knob attack can be found on this website. The simplest countermeasure is to enforce a minimum encryption key length of 128 bits.
Here are references to two Bluetooth attacks: the fixed coordinate invalid curve attack and the method confusion attack. The third reference gives a comprehensive summary of Bluetooth vulnerabilities that have been discovered over the years.